Well, Bernie Sanders has had a pretty good week this week. One of the things that had happened on Wednesday night is that Bernie Sanders had just recently run the support of one of the largest unions in the United States. And it's the Communication Workers of America. Now, it's not exactly a surprise to see this endorsement. Nonetheless, it's a pretty big fucking deal. Now, former CWA President Larry Cohen serves as Sanders' labor advisor. Now, he had stepped down during the summer to join Sanders' campaign. So, as I said, it's not a huge surprise to see the CWA backing Sanders' push for president. Now, also, Sanders during the summer had spoke to a group of striking Verizon workers. I'm sorry, this was in October, who were affiliated with the CWA. So, as I said, not a big surprise. Now, why is it important? Well, the CWA is one of the biggest unions in the U.S., as I had mentioned. They represent roughly 700,000 public and private sector workers across the U.S., Canada, and Puerto Rico. That makes them one of the largest unions in the United States. Now, the CWA is also one of the most active unions. They're represented in more than 10,000 cities and towns nationwide. Now, throughout the year, not only that, but throughout the year, the CWA launched a successful unionization campaign at different major media outlets. Now, this includes Vice, Guardian, Think Progress, and Al Jazeera America. So, yeah, these are some pretty important news outlets that they're trying to help unionize. And it was very successful. Now, the CWA comes as the fifth union to endorse Bernie Sanders' campaign. Now, they joined the ranks of the support of the American Postal Workers Unions, as well as the National Nurses Union, the United Electrical Radio Machine Workers of America, and the National Union of Healthcare Workers. So, as I said, that's a lot of union support. Don't get me wrong, Hillary Clinton has also gotten a lot of union endorsements, but Bernie Sanders has scored some pretty impressive union victories as well, and I think Bernie Sanders more represents what people that are inside these unions are looking for. I mean, I used to work a union job. I was part of a union as well. And you would want to look towards somebody who actually cares about unions. Now, I'm not saying that Hillary Clinton doesn't, but she's not as strong of a warrior for unions, I think, in my opinion, than Bernie Sanders. Now, the other really good piece of news is that he's broken a historic record of campaign contributions. Now, the Huffington Post reports that Bernie Sanders officially hit 2 million individual campaign contributions. Now, this is pretty impressive since no one since Barack Obama. Actually, he's done better than Barack Obama. No other U.S. president has achieved that mark this early in an election. Now, to put it in context, Barack Obama's 2008 campaign, they managed to break just 1 million contributions. So, Senator Sanders has twice the individual small donations than Barack Obama did back in 2008 when he broke the record. That's amazing. That's amazing. And not only that, but he did it faster. He reached 2 million faster than President Obama reached 1 million. It's very significant. And what's even more significant about this, and this is probably the best part, is the number of contributions and the size of each contribution. As of Wednesday evening, the average donation to Sanders was less than $30. That right there shows the power of progressive grassroots support. Here you have literally millions of people giving little to the Sanders campaign, but that little equals a lot. It just shows the amazing groundswell of individual progressive support for the most progressive candidate in this race. And it's really amazing to see. Now, I have one more piece of good news for Senator Sanders, and that is to underscore his progressive support, he now just got a endorsement from the progressive group Democracy for America. Now, this is also very significant because this is the first presidential primary endorsement in the history of that group. Now, that group boasts over 1 million members. Now, they, in order to figure out who they were going to endorse, they took an internal poll. And unsurprisingly, Bernie Sanders won 88% of the group's online vote. And that's actually far beyond the 2/3 majority needed to trigger an endorsement. Hillary Clinton won just 10% of the vote, and Martin O'Malley finished with 1%. According to Charles Chamberlain, DFA Executive Director, Bernie Sanders is an unyielding populist progressive who decisively won Democracy for America members. In the first, and he won this first presidential primary endorsement because of his lifelong commitment to taking on income inequality and the wealthy and powerful interests who are responsible for it. With today's endorsement, DFA members are joining Bernie Sanders' political revolution and working to take it both to the White House and up and down the ballot in races coast to coast. So, that's a pretty big endorsement. That's huge. It's very huge. Now, what's interesting about this is how the creation of the DFA. Howard Dean created the DFA back in 2004. But interestingly enough, Howard Dean is endorsing Hillary Clinton. Oh. In fact, he urged DFA members to try to support Hillary Clinton in an email saying Hillary Clinton is the candidate who shares our progressive values on issues like climate change, immigration reform, and LGBT rights. And she has the experience and ability to turn those values into policies that will help Americans. And this was in an email sent last week to DFA members. But apparently, sorry Howard, they were feeling the burn. Now, this group has never taken sides in a presidential primary, but it has spent more than $32 million helping 843 progressive candidates win elections since 2004. So the DFA has turned their rhetoric into policy, into progressive wins all over the country. So their endorsement is really a huge deal. And in fact, before Bernie Sanders started running, they had helped spearhead the Run, Warren, Run movement that sought to draft, of course, Elizabeth Warren to try to run for president. Now, just like the other Warren group, Ready for Warren, they have now endorsed Senator Bernie Sanders. So once again, this has been an amazing week for Bernie Sanders, and hopefully an amazing week for his campaign.